drift off into something like this.
Yeah.
What's that look like in there?
Oh, it was cool though.
Yeah, where we at now? Oh, doorbell's ringing.
Nice.
Well, there.
Not this Bob Walker.
Long time no see, y'all.
What do you say, stranger?
About 24 hours ago, we was
That's
part.
what I'm thinking, man. We ain't seen you in a while, Bob.
I know I've been hiding down in the backwoods of Mississippi. Man, it was a great time. Had a great time with y'all.
Yes, we did.
These people are genuine. Sorry, wrong way. These people are genuine people, y'all. They are exactly how they look on YouTube. Except Tim cleans up better for church. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that is the only day I'll go in there. Usually either Saturday evening or get up early Sunday
That's
morning.
why Anna makes you go to church, so you take that once a week shower you deserve.
Yes, sir.
That's just the silver lining, Bob.
Man, tell you what, next year you guys got to go to the stream. Look, we're gonna raid you. I shared it on my stream.
Oh yeah.
And I said, let's raid the Gunline.
Well, y'all come on in. Y'all tell us about it.
Yeah, we're ready.
Yes, sir. Let me get that.
Well, that puppy is grilled.
I'm gonna tell you what. When you go to these bee shows,
there we go.
These meetings, not only do you get to meet a bunch of great people that are like-minded. For the most part, there's always the outlier, but for the most part, you meet like-minded people. And if you need anything for your bee yard, you can just about find it. I mean, Man Lake was there. Rossman Apiaries was there. Daydant was there. Tim called me up. He says, hey, give me one of them buckets of pollen sub, and I'll get you back when I get there. And then Tim and Hannah drove 2 hours to help me load my truck.
Yeah,
Yeah, they hang out too. That was the main gig.
The main gig was the hangout, but I got free labor out of it, so it was good.
I will say I thought it was pretty interesting seeing some of them people bringing, their products out and things like that whenever we got there. But I seen a bunch of people have plants, like different pollinating plants as well.
They did that as, I think, one of the door prizes in there, right? Like a greenhouse or something gave them away as door prizes, like for the drawing. And I put some swarm lure in there and just talked to a ton of people. And if you're going to do a show, spend the money and buy the little credit card machine, because that was probably the best thing that I took down there, because everybody, well, it kind of flipped, because I just would ask people, are you paying with card or cash today? Oh, card. And they just popped it out, And I learned something very valuable, that my opinion on YouTube means nothing to nobody but you fine folks over here. Because everybody I asked, do you watch Beekeeping YouTube? They're like, no, we don't. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I mean, evidently it helps me and it helps y'all, but for the most part, they're like, no, we don't watch Beekeeping YouTube. So anything that's being said, good or bad, they're just missing the whole message anyway. So you can go fly right by. And, we're sitting there, and I was talking to this guy I think he said he had 1,200 colonies. And he's like, well, when I got it up to like 500 colonies, I was making as much from my bees as I was on my day job. And it just made sense, because I talked to my daddy, and he said, I told him that I was thinking about quitting my job to do full-time beekeeping, because I can double my colonies up if I had more time to work them. And then he bought what did he say? I think he said 200 boxes and 200 bottom boards, and it was just a crazy amount of stuff. And he says, "Oh, I forgot. Now I got to buy like 20,000 frames." And it was something. It was an absurd number of frames, and he's like, that's like $40,000 he had to drop just to buy the frames to go in the boxes to fill them up. So sometimes when I hear those stories, I'm like, man, you know what? 50 colonies is good. 70 colonies to stay right here where I'm at, so that it's insane, the number. You just don't think about it in that, right? So let's say you go from 500 to 1,000 colonies and you buy 500 boxes, 500 bottoms, 500 tops, or you're just using pallets. Let's even take the bottom boards away, but you got to have the pallets, right? And then, oh, wait a minute, we need honey supers. So now you got to add 2-3 more boxes on top and drop frames in them, and it gets out of control really quick. So, but I was surprised how many people were coming by. I've got 1,000 hives. I got 1,500 hives. I got 12 hives. And that was impressive. But the thing is, that gentleman that I was just talking about, he was one of the most genuine people that says it doesn't matter if you've got 1 colony or 1,500. We're all beekeepers. We all keep bees. We have differences that we do from place to place or little tricks we've learned or whatever. But for the most part, we keep bees exactly the same. I just do it 1,000 times where they do it 10 times or 5 times or 3 times. So I appreciated that sentiment, because that's how I look at it. And I think that's how these guys down here will look at it too, is that, we do these chats because it don't matter. Ian Stupper comes in. He's just another guy, Randy, just another guy. And, so it don't matter if you have 1. I mean, I'm pick on DC, but last year, DC over the winter, he lost his colonies. So technically he had no colonies until this spring again. Right. So there's nothing wrong with that. It happens to all of us.
But look at the year he's had this year, though. He turned around and killed it this year.
That's right. Oh, look at that, Newfoundland.
Oh, wow.
Well, hey, man, appreciate you.
It's Newfoundland.
I think they're on your channel.
It's not an I or N until land. Oh, there is Newfoundland. Newfoundland. Well, she's a little bit slower down here. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, man.
Brian said, tell us what you bought, Bob.
Yes, please.
Well, I didn't buy that many different items. It was just a lot of the same items, right? So I bought 80 pounds of Ultra Bee pollen patties, the new plus patties with the real pollen in them. I bought a 10-pound bucket of powder sub like you got, Tim, and 100 frames. But now here's the thing. Those 100 frames were already put together with right cell foundation, double wax for $2.90 a piece.
Wow.
So, that was a pretty good deal, I thought. So I was like, give me all that you have. Is this all you have? You got more in the truck? No, that's all we brought. Well, good. Give them all to me. And so that's why my truck was so janky. And then on top of that, Strong Microbials gave me a 40-pound box of their patty there. And, Brian, you're not gonna do that. I bet you can guess on all of your fingers how much I bought.
Yeah.
None.
I was going to ask you how them frames rode onto the house after them rascals was starting to come loose in them banding.
I started putting them in the back of the truck so I could actually get my suitcase had to ride in the back of the truck. So thank goodness it didn't rain. we were able to put in the bathroom, the little carry-on bathroom thing in there. And my wife's purse got to make it up in the truck, but everything else had to go in the back because it was from floor to ceiling in there, wasn't it, Tim?
Oh, you couldn't see out the back window on that rascal. That joker was slammed full of stuff.
I was texting that picture to people. I think I sent it to Brad. I'm not sure.
Hannah, you need another chair.
No, Jasper needs to get in his chair and get out of my chair.
Yeah. Jasper's gotten huge. I haven't seen
My
him in a while.
God.
Oh, he ain't no puppy no more.
He is. Yeah.
Holy
He's
moly.
getting too big for his britches over here.
He's a lap dog.
Yeah, he's a
He
lap.
thinks he is.
So this is what it looked like when the sun was coming up this morning when I was in the garage getting ready to leave, guys. I was like, man, do I really want to go back home?
No.
You're gonna have to add it to show them. You're gonna have to add it from the bottom to show them.
Okay. Good. Oh, okay.
I was like, yeah, I could just sit right here. I could live in the parking garage.
Oh, that is pretty.
Yeah.
So it was.
But that's not the ocean, right?
No,
Definitely not. the
That's a
ocean.
big pond with salt water in it.
I told Bob, I said, I've been picking up on you telling them folks me getting on to you about the Gulf and the ocean now.
The Gulf and the ocean. Let me see. I know I sent this us last night. Here, this is the Jenga, and it was like that on both sides. And we had all the frames on the other side too. So it was.
You need to flip them seats up. Then you get more in there.
Well, I got a toolbox under the seat, so it only gets
okay.
a couple inches.
You need a cargo net at the back. You could strap it down that way.
Well, the problem is when I left the show, I was going back to the hotel. So I would have had to move it inside the truck anyway overnight. Otherwise, some crackhead would have been selling man-made frames on the corner in the morning,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, a bunch of stuff. That's all. That's what I can say. We got a bunch of stuff. And, but yeah, the Appy tablets, believe it or not, they were very well received. Especially when they saw a little bit of Mite drop. And the way I explained it was, so
I've actually cleared my throat. Sorry.
yeah, I kind of had a,
What was your line?
my line was, I'm not telling you to not mite treat, but this is an excellent way to control the mites after you've treated.
Mm.
So it, I mean, and people up there were like, well, how much is a pallet? A pallet. I'm like, that's over 11,000 tablets. But that's fine. We got to treat 2 per, they double deeps mostly, right? 2 per box or 2 per colony. I got 1,200 colonies. I got to do it twice a year. So that's 4,800 right there. So I could go in with another guy and we could split a pallet, or something like that. So it was pretty well received. Even I'm going to quote somebody that was very important in Canada, like governmental level approval type guy in Canada. He sat there and read the label and he said, yeah, there's nothing illegal in here.
Well, I mean,
And I'm like, cool. He says, because it's listed as a supplement. That's
I got
what the
you.
rule says.
When we got your package and everything, we finally got everything out the truck today after we got done with our little rodeo run. But I sat down and I was looking at the packaging. Y'all probably can't tell much of it, but on the front of it, it says Appy tablet, all natural formula, contains vitamins, minerals, and amino acids, enriched with all natural essential oils and pure sugar, supports honeybee health and vitality, promotes colony strength and well-being, integrated pest management aid. Then it goes through the directions of how to use it, so on and so forth. Don't let the dogs get it or the kids, that kind of thing. But
Yeah, it very clearly though says treatment aid, not pest treatment.
Well,
All by itself.
I'm gonna run us through here because I had looked up just to see what integrated pest management meant or what it was. You know, the definition, I reckon, on it. Y'all bear with me. Let me get to my screenshots, what have you.
To your Googler.
Yes, sir.
So did
Go ahead,
any of
Charlie.
any of your customers commit to that pallet load of tablets?
Well, there was one guy that was really interested. I mean, to the point I got Mehmet on the phone. It's like, well, how much is shipping going to be for a pallet to come from New Jersey down to Mississippi? He said if he buys a pallet, I'll give him a special price, which was $2 a tablet, and free shipping. So he'll pick up the shipping on the pallet to go down to Mississippi. So, but he's in with his son, so he did buy some, but he didn't buy a pallet worth. So we'll see what happens.
You're getting your foot in the door.
Well,
Maybe.
a lot of people got my business card, so we'll see. And then I took over my remnants of Apis with me to the show and set them there. And the first couple hours of the show, I sold every big pack of control that I had. And then I had a guy call me on the ride home, say, hey, where can I find this? Because every website that it says on the stream, they don't have it. The big packs. I said, well, I would have had them, but I can't anymore. Try this guy and this guy. And
Is Mark out of them?
What's that?
Is Mark out of them too?
I don't know if Mark takes him to the show. And I think, Mark's in the same boat that I am because he was getting them from me.
Oh.
So that's that whole trickle down effect that nobody.
Yeah.
No, I'm in the hole on this show, guys. I mean, honestly, the show had about 80 people, plus the speakers and the vendors were there. But so by the time you drive 9.5 hours each way and somebody paid for the booth, and you would have, even if I didn't go on vacation, if I would have had to stay there overnight, a night or two, okay, so he says he does have some big packs. Mark does. So, but it is like a trickle down effect at this point. So I guess they're still trying to iron out that supply chain deal, but is what it is. My thing is I didn't have enough to supply one of those guys if they were going to a show, right? I didn't have enough here to do that. So it's like, well, go ahead and sell what I've got. Yeah, that's what Ricky said. It's hard to make money at the shows. Now, Strong Microbials, they did a fine job over there. Those big guys are buying cases and cases and cases of those fondant patties with the Apis in them. So, and they're talking real loud in there. Sorry, but the yeah, it was. They were expecting more people, but here I think, and we were talking about this, guys, a little bit, that the problem I find with, just from what I experienced, was there's that disconnect, right? Where there's the commercial beekeeper and then there's everybody else, right? So, and that's one of the issues right now, I think, with everything, is that some commercial beekeepers like Ian, they're just an average guy, right? No big head or anything. Well, he's got a big head, but not the big head that we're talking about, because I know he's listening. But it's one of those things to where I think a lot of people forget where they come from. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm talking about? We all start with 1 or 2 colonies, and at some point we make the leap to sideliner and then to commercial, or you know, and then you define what commercial is, right? So someone in Canada could probably produce as much honey as these guys are with less than half of the colonies, right?
Mm.
So what is commercial at that point? So I mean, I'm not downgrading anybody for the amount of hives that they have in their operations, in case anybody's happens to be listening that was at the show. It's not one of those things. It's just that you know, for some reason, once you hit the big C word over there, then it's like, oh, well, I'm a better than or a greater than, right? The greater than sign everybody else that's not to that point, right? But it's one of those things to where I think it doesn't matter to me. I do as many bees as I can do with the schedule and lifestyle that I have, right? So maybe I can't be 1,000 hive guy because I don't have thousands of acres to put honeybees on, right? So I'm limited in whatever aspect that is. I mean, just
what was we talking about the other night? Putting them 1,000 hives in your backyard.
Yeah.
With
Hey,
Randy.
Mr. Randy, does that make me a backyard beekeeper or a commercial
that's it.
beekeeper?
If I got 1,000 hives and they're in my backyard, does that make me a backyard beekeeper? Or does that make me a commercial beekeeper?
Randy was like, if you got 1,000 hives, they ain't in your backyard.
Well, they'd be in my backyard. I'm too lazy to drive anywhere. Philip, what's going on?
You come in and don't say a word.
Unusual. Are you feeling okay, sir?
Yes, I'm fine. I was muted. It took me forever. You know, I got here and unloaded a few things, and then I couldn't get in because Tim's got the, Buttons over there's got like the super security I had to go through to get in.
Yeah.
Do a 2-step verification to make sure it was me.
Seriously?
Pulled out the Google Authenticator.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to do all that stuff. But anyway, so yeah, I don't. And then when I came in, they were loaded up. We had the panel up here, so
That's what I thought. I was like, it's a full house tonight.
Thank you.
I didn't
Hey, we
feel like I
appreciate
needed
you.
to add anything really.
I'm just running my mouth, filling air. That's it.
Yeah.
What's happening in Texas?
Well, I went down to the farm. It was a short trip because we had market on Saturday morning. So we did introduce a few new products. I don't know if I can show them here. There's see if I can get that close enough. How do I do this? There we go.
We're going to make you big.
Yeah.
There we go.
There it is. So that's a wood sealer. It's really easy. It's 4 parts mineral oil and 1 part beeswax. It's in a little container. And then we did our lip balms in tins. Let me see if I can do this like that. So small.
Oh, no.
Kind of like a Carmex can almost.
Yeah. So yeah, we did that. That was the peppermint one. This is the natural one.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder what would happen if you took one of those tins and added black dye to it. Would you be able to polish your shoes with them? I mean, that's a legit thing. I mean, shoe polish. What is it?
Yeah. Well, I was looking at when I was making this. I was kind of wanting a leather conditioner, but the ones that I'm seeing people make have quite a few different things with them. This was stuff I already had. I already had some food grade mineral oil. People use this for their cutting boards.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, we had a really good day at the market. But people are still buying the tubes of. I think Brian said that he had better luck with the tins, but we're having better luck with our tubes. So now our tubes are $4 and our tins are $6. But
Brian says to make the tin green colored to match the product.
green.
You could probably buy a green metal tin.
Green. I don't know. My product's not green.
But mint.
The mint.
The mint, see?
Oh.
Green.
I got you. The peppermint. I use red for peppermint.
What's this one? Mint. This is a blue mint for some reason.
Peppermint's red, right? That's one.
Technically, it's red and white.
Peppermint candies are red and white.
Yeah.
Mint green.
Spearmint. We'll say spearmint green.
Experiment.
There we
Please come. Green. Experiment
And
flavor.
we put these out, these dippers, and sold them for $1.50, and sold quite a few of these. I wish I'd had these out all year, because these cost me
Yeah.
like 25 cents, and I sold them for $1.50.
Oh, that's nice.
go. There we go. I got you up there. Now. Yeah.
So I'm putting it down. You need to quit pushing the
Okay.
button.
Let me quit pushing buttons.
Hey, Joseph.
Hey, Joey.
Hey, how y'all doing?
Good, good. I saw your video. Thanks for the tag on that.
Yeah,
So,
I didn't know if you got it yet or not.
oh yeah, I got it. I saw this when I was riding. I had my phone in one hand, listening to YouTube on the stereo as I was coming down the road. My wife was snoring, so I had to turn something up to listen to her.
Hey, Brian's commenting down there. Yes, I am stalking you, Brian. But I'll never be half the man you are. But especially when it comes to the. But here, let me show you this guy. This is our gift package, though. It's not Flower Street Farms, but
This is not Flower Street.
Oh, looks good. Did you make those boxes or did you find them somewhere online?
I made the boxes. It's got some of Sophie's earrings in it. See there?
Yeah, he used all that scrap lumber he has.
Oh, those
Exactly.
are cute.
There you go.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the double. That's the double honey one there. And I got let's see. I got one for if you do 3 jars. I got a big one. And I got one for 1 jar. I don't remember where I put it. Oh well. A smaller one for 1 jar. Oh, here it is. Here's the 1 jar box. Yes, I just take the scrap wood that's left over from building beehives and make these real quick.
There you go. Hey, save that. However much at the Walmart's buying them little boxes
Yeah.
like that to put it in.
Mm-hmm.
Well, how about you, Todd? What's happening up there in California way?
Not much. Kind of in a holding pattern, just doing my checks, which are going very well, and then thinking of ways to sell honey. Well, I'm not making regular honey. I'm making flavored honeys.
So you're addicted to that now because they sell really well.
I'm going to add chocolate and cheesecake to my menu.
Oh, that sounds pretty doggone good.
Yeah, and then I'm going to make. Excuse me a second. I'm going to make a garlic infused honey, and then I'm also going to make a hot honey.
Mhm.
So that's about it. There's not much more going on.
So what can you tell us about them mite treatments?
Not much. I mean, they're working good for me. So that's.
What can you tell them? What can you tell us about the non-mite treatment that you're using?
You know what? I'm using a supplement, and there is a component to it that may or may not help. I don't know. But all I know is what I wash, and so I do that. Everything's working good.
You're
The
killing
bees-
us. Give us some numbers. Real numbers.
No, I'm not going to give. Well, I washed a couple today that were zeros, and one had a 1 and one had a 2. But the big thing for me is that they're calm and they're brooding up right now. The queens just were popping, so it's pretty good. So other than that, that's I'm kind of just waiting for it to cool down, I guess. There's really not much going on. I have to clean up my bee yard still. It is a mess. It looks like a teenager in high school's room. It's a mess.
Like me, I drove into mine and I heard the Sanford and Son theme come on.
Yeah, that's what mine looks like. Yeah, it was crazy.
I didn't even make it into the house. I was like, I stopped in the middle of the driveway and said, "Let me check this hive over here." Pulled the cover off of it.
Did you like run out of the truck before it got into park?
Almost. I'm like, it's cool. Yep, there's bees coming out of that one and that one and that one. Okay, we're good. And it was pretty good. Pretty good. Look at
Did y'all do pretty good at your market the other day, Todd?
the Thursday
Yeah,
night.
we Thursday night. Yeah, it wasn't bad at all. So the organization I work for is the main office building is downtown Fresno, and they're right on the edge of a street called Fulton Street, where once a month they shut it down for like 3-4 blocks. They block it off, and vendors come in. There's food tents everywhere. I mean, it's crazy. All types of vendors, jewelry. I mean, you name it, they have it out there. Well, I just plopped out right in front of our building, which is still on private property, and sat there and sold. And the nice thing about it was they had me right in front of the food court at one end of the, or actually it was kind of in the middle of the it's called Art Hop. There's no art out there. I don't know why it's called Art Hop, but so I sat out there and people were in line getting, they were at the taco trucks, and some came over, some were going through, and they bought, they tasted, they bought. It was great. So I did learn that at least around here, everybody sells runny honey, right? But 95% of the people that came by my table didn't know what creamed honey was. And so then I gave them a sample, and that was it. And I don't know, 75-80% of the people that sampled it bought a jar or two. So,
Good deal. Yes,
yeah,
sir.
it was a good one. It was a good one. And the best part is, since our building is right there and I'm an employee vendor, they don't charge me a vendor fee. So I just set it for free. It didn't cost me a dime.
And now everyone in the office knows where they can get it.
Yep. I've already had emails. They've already emailed me this weekend saying, "Hey, can you?" So I have some orders. I got to take some more.
So Brian asked, "How were your price points?"
Pointy.
So I went around and around and around, and I finally just said, "The heck with it." I'm for an 8-ounce half-pint jar, I did $12. I'm going to do $12 this year, but next year, probably spring, I'll do $15. But I want to do more flavor. I had cinnamon and peanut butter out there, and plus my honey. But I'm going to get 4 or 5 different flavors. I'm going to get a hot honey out there. I'm going to get some garlic honey out there, and just kind of have a little, few options. And but yeah, $15 is where I want to be. I kind of wish I put it at 15 just to see what happens. But hey, live and learn.
Hannah sure changed quick.
Yeah. Hey, Jasper.
He's
Jumps up there and sits up like he's supposed to be there on the screen.
Yeah, sorry, Joker. He does. That's what we tell him when we come on. You better hurry up. It's your screen time.
How much does he weigh now? He looks heavy.
He's probably about 30 pounds now.
Wow. He looks bigger than that.
I bet he's more than that.
Yeah, he looks like he's around 80 pounds.
More than 30 pounds.
That's what I was thinking.
We got this. I don't know. She's bull and mix something. This other one of ours, and she's about the size of an American bull, I guess. But give you an idea how big he is. But
he's big as she is now.
Yeah, he's as tall, if not taller than her now. And those spots on him they really coming out on his tail now. But yeah,
he looks like he has his own personality now.
Oh, he does. He's got his own attitude too.
She done spoiled that dog so rotten, y'all don't even. That woman has spoiled this dog.
Yeah.
Me.
Yes, sir.
Well, Joseph, how about you, brother, over in Louisiana? How things going along every other way?
It's pretty good. Been staying a little busy in the bee yard, making a few videos.
Yeah.
I got one for Sawmill Charlie coming up next Friday or next Saturday.
Are they?
I actually used the Hive lifter again.
Not good.
Right.
It's your turn, Charlie.
That's serious.
I actually used to have a lifter again.
Me too.
What was that?
Siri's talking to us.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Charlie, when you gonna make the move and get you one?
I don't know. I'd really like to try them first. I mean, you have the one like Joey's got, and then you have the one like James has, or the other fellow here in was it Louisiana? Anyway, the one that kind of has like a front end loader, like came.
Oh, Mike Berry.
Mike
Yeah.
Berry, that's it. That's who I was thinking of. So they kind of have different characteristics, and I don't know. So yeah, I would really like to try them. I don't want to spend $1,500 or $2,000 on something in 10 minutes. I'm like, hey, I'm not liking this model or this style of a lifter. My main thing is be able to lift the honey supers up off the brood chamber area so I can manage that through the honey season.
So you more or less
Yeah,
just want.
I do have a mentor. I have a mentee lifting for me this past year. He lives right up the road from me, and that worked out well. And I mean, I've been helping him keep his bees alive, and he's helped me do some lifting, and then he's used my extractor and that kind of thing. We've been helping out each other, so that has been working out well. So I might buy one. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I'd like to go to Nobby and have a couple different vendors there if they would come and bring those there, so you can kind of play with them.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I tell you, I wish somebody in the U.S. would kind of jump on building those things. I think they could build.
There is a
just
U.S.
good and-
model, but I'm not really. I've heard
Is that
the one
you
guy
see
down
on
in
Facebook a lot?
Alabama. Huh? What's
Is that
that,
the one that's
Joey?
on Facebook a lot?
Yeah, the American Bee Lifter or something like that. There's a guy. Who's the guy that's? He's in Alabama or Mississippi. He's got about 100 hives or so.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who that is.
I need the B3 lifter. That's what I do with mine. All right. So are you doing sort of like a demery method of where you're lifting the supers up and then getting into the brood chamber? And I always, what I'm doing is my honey thing is I've not been able to, a lot of people say we just put the supers on and they won't swarm. Well, I haven't been able to master that. What I have learned is about every 2 weeks or so, pull the supers up off of there, get in there, pull about half the cat brood out of there, put empty frames in, put it all back together, and put the empty frame or the cat brood up on top of my stack. And my bees don't swarm, and I doubled my honey production. And that would save my back a lot. So that's good to know, Randy. Thanks. Did you bring a few things in, Bob?
Oh my gosh, Bob. I thought you were going to get a monster or something.
One. That's just one load.
Yeah.
Says a load.
That's 80 pounds to 2 bottom boxes. So, first things first, since y'all talking about fancy schmancy stuff.
We're actually talking about hive lifting.
If I can catch my old breath here. So my wife got these cakelet pans that are cast iron.
That are awesome.
Tell her about it, ladies. Any of you ladies, y'all love that. Hannah fell in love with them
I
things.
did. I was drilling all over them pipes and
Yeah.
paint.
And the little Beehive cake pan. I guess they kind of come out looking like that. So she got these from Date Ant. At least their guy there. And then what else I got here? 80 pounds of hate. That's what I got. So this is the Ultra B Plus patties that are supposed to be, I can read upside down. It says place 1 to 3 patties on top of the frames. Let me see. Storage, don't worry about that. It says contains crude protein, not less than 15%, natural pollen. I'm sorry. Crude protein, not less than 15%. Natural pollen, not less than 5%. So that's the one. Another thing. Let me drop that down. Good.
You camel shook. You shook the whole house.
Yeah, I've got 2 cases of those. And this I'm going to have to cut open, which Tim got a couple of these. Free O charge.
Yes, we're going to try to stick them out probably sometime the next day or two. Get them on there and see how they go with them.
I'm probably going to hate the fact that I opened these right now, but
Oh, boy.
because it's much easier to carry them when they're closed, right? Honeybee Christmas cookies. So that's the for DFM strong microbial. Smells good.
That's a fondant, right?
That is a fondant patty with Apis biologicus in it.
Somewhere on this,
You just
Yum.
ate that.
Why
It's
not?
actually really good. It's really good.
I'll be leery of any candy you send me then.
For real.
you want to try a piece? We got a piece.
He's going for more.
No, taste it, Tim. It's good.
He's seriously going back for seconds.
Taste it. To me,
Bob, your wife
Double
cooked you
dipping.
supper.
try it. Try it out.
Keep it away from
Yeah.
Jasper.
Come on, Tim. Try it out.
Jasper would probably eat it all.
Have him bouncing
People
around
say it
here.
don't taste bad. Taste it and see what it tastes like.
I'm almost pass.
I ain't go. I'll try for the show, but I ain't.
Gotta make you big.
Peer pressure.
Hey, gummy,
Bob's
Bob.
still breathing.
Yeah.
Need 10 more seconds. If
I was
Bob's
going to say,
okay,
it's only been like a minute, Tom.
They're actually really good. And the reason I know that is because they actually had a patty cut up for people to taste. There.
Wow. Huh. What do you think?
It's not bad, is it? It's not like off-putting.
It's kind of like a
Wrigley spearmint gum almost.
and a honey in a way, because at first it started out like a bland taste in a way, then it got sweet, then it went to a peppermint like taste.
And you won't have no Zima in the spring either.
Mm-mm. I'm as a supplement, it doesn't taste bad, so I could see where the bees would eat it. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't taste bad at all. Go ahead, Hannah. Go,
Okay.
Hannah. Go, Hannah.
I'm going
Look
to stick
at
with coffee.
Jasper's on point. He looks like he wants to
He
try.
is.
Can I have a piece, Daddy?
And Tim did it with a dip in his mouth, so you know it's probably even better.
Well, on this brochure on that stuff, it was saying it helped with working combination to absorb nutrients, reduces stress to inhibit pathogens such as some kind of larvae, the agent of American foul brood, molds, and fungi like chalk brood.
Look, you're gonna be all cleaned up by
Oh,
Christmas.
your chalk brood's
I
gonna
already
be
feel less
fun.
Get rid of that tapeworm.
Mm.
And you'll be less stressful. When you're going to work.
DC said there's nothing in them that's not okay for a human. A
You
lot might make you sick, but
might lay more eggs.
Well, it tastes
yeah.
to me. It tastes a little bit like Wrigley's spearmint gum.
Yeah, it was weird how it went through. Well, to me, it went through that.
It
I
went.
don't know, different levels of taste on.
It went from Copenhagen to sweet to mint, back to sweet again.
Mhm.
Back to Copenhagen. Yes, sir.
What's wrong? Take picking on me.
The
So Richard said he knows that Hive Alive leaves a nasty taste in your mouth.
never tried it. Never
And y'all
tried
wonder
it.
why the generation under you has no problem putting crap in their mouth.
Yeah,
At least it's not a Tide Pod.
that's why I say that's our version of eating the Tide Pod again.
Yeah, I don't sit around and eat bee supplement. It
Yeah.
could be worse, but still.
Well,
There
it's
you
one
go,
of
Hannah. Robin Hood says, "I heard that stuff makes you feel frisky and wild."
Oh, wow.
It's actually it. Have you tried pollen patty before? Come on, I'm the only guy. I bet you Joey tried it. Joey, have you tried pollen patty before? No.
Yep. Everybody's like, no,
Y'all are
Boss.
You'll feed it to your bees, but you won't feed it to you.
Yeah,
someone's
Charlie's
gonna be
being
arrested
awful quiet over there.
You've ne-
I don't even feed it to bees, so I
Oh, okay.
never touched it.
Yeah. A comparative taste test.
I raised enough hive beetles. down here without
Without 'em. Well, I have hive beetle colonies that the bees move into.
This is one of them conversations we need Blaine and Brian in here.
Yeah, Blaine said, I've never tried my dog's food.
It's true. I have not either.
Mm.
But they don't taste bad. I mean, to me, it's almost like sugar cookie dough. It's kind of what it tastes like. It's just
He said text, I bet as a kid you
he was too busy eating crayons.
Yeah. I've got to admit, when I was a kid, I tried dog food.
I'm really hungry, and all we had, well, Hormel chili, dog food, kind of close to similar.
Oh, mercy. I'm sorry, y'all. Oh, I love it. This is why I like talking to everybody, right?
Just joking.
I'm just thinking Mark Miller with his story now, blowing holes through the house with his shotgun.
That was hilarious.
I can remember the time I tried it. The neighbor across the street had me come over to feed their dogs when they were on vacation, and I spit it out. It was dry dog food. I just chewed it a few times and spit it out. It was terrible.
I ate a range cube once, but it made me $20.
Hey, that's 20 extra dollars you got.
That's it. Well, the good thing, I guess if there is a good side to this, Patty, I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of them. I haven't tried it yet, but well, I did physically try it, but not on the colonies. Since it's not a pollen patty, you shouldn't have to worry about hive beetles with it, right? So we'll see though. We will see.
Brian said you could do blind taste tests at conferences.
They literally had a plate out with cut up sections of that patty on it for people that wanted to taste it. What's it taste like? Here you go.
Seriously?
Oh yeah. People were asking.
I guess if they like the taste.
I'm not going to taste Happy Tablet. It's not going to happen.
That's just like my honey stand. You got to taste it before you buy it.
That's it. Plus fresh breath. That's
Because
great.
it tastes good to me doesn't mean it's going to taste good to the bees. I mean, I don't get the connection there, but whatever, you know, whatever floats your boat.
So I am still a few weeks smoke free, guys. Didn't break over the vacation. Even in a casino where people had smoked for years.
Oh, hold on. Well, it's too late. There's a clapper in here, but I had to dig around and push a bunch of buttons.
Please quit pushing buttons today. Please.
What you
That's
eating,
great.
Joey? Pollen patty?
No,
Pollen patty.
Fritos. Okay.
Fritos.
Chili cheese Fritos.
Those are good.
So
No, those are terrible.
I like
I had a bad run-in with those in college, and I can't even be around them anymore.
really?
Okay.
Chili cheese Fritos?
Yeah, it had nothing to do with those. It had to do with what I drank before I ate those.
Oh, no.
Is that a
Yeah,
tequila story?
Yeah, it's one of those. Yeah, it's one of those where when it comes the other direction, it kind of turns you off on it for life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Phil was reenacting the Alamo.
Trying to see if I sent any other unique.
Well, good job, Blaine. Keep on. That's something I need to quit doing myself too. But
I'll tell you what, I probably gained 20 pounds while I was there. We ate, y'all.
I told your wife the South is not the place to keep a diet.
I was brutalizing Todd every day, 3 meals a day. Whatever I ate, he got a photo of. He's like,
Yeah.
breakfast, crepes and fresh
It was
fruit.
crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Gulf shrimp, not anything from the ocean out there. Good Gulf shrimp.
You know, there is a distinct difference. When you go into a restaurant and you start eating shrimp and it's chewy, rubbery, it's frozen. When you go there and you eat shrimp and it just kind of falls apart like chicken or something in your mouth, it's fresh. Very easy to determine.
Well, tell them about your run to Bayou La Battery, Alabama.
I went to the home of Benjamin Buford Blue. Y'all know who that is. You've never seen Forrest Gump? Bubba?
Yeah.
That's Bubba. That's his hometown.
That's right.
Bayou La Battery. Of course, we couldn't get there from here. Tim's like, okay, he's navigating for me over the phone. He's like, all right, go to this road and you make a right and then you make another right and that should bypass that construction. And no, it was just blocked from the other side. And it's like, well, I'm going to have to stop and just take a picture of the water tower, I guess. But it was,
Blaine.
do what?
Blaine's comment.
If you want to lose weight, limit yourself to only eating Mexican food restaurants up north. Oh, we got them here. Well, up north. I'm up north from y'all, but I'm still down south. So.
We're here too.
What?
I've never been big on Mexican food.
Oh.
I pass them jokers up around here.
Yeah, he does. In a heartbeat.
Now, about the closest thing, now she makes a enchilada, a chicken enchilada that's real good. But she makes that here at home. We don't go to no restaurant to eat it, though. No, if we going to eat, I want to go to where the barbecue is or to the old catfish house across the state line over there. That's my pickings. But
I could eat catfish every day.
Just about. As long as I got ketchup, I'm good.
Hey, Joey, do you ever eat at Manchek's?
Yep.
That's the best catfish you'll ever put in your mouth.
I think it's time to go back.
it's a time to go.
That's a great place.
You can find you a good catfish house. You own to something, brother. Yeah, I mean, you're going to eat good.
Manchek says the fish you put in your mouth today slept in the lake last night.
Hey, now.
Yeah.
Probably so.
There'd be a place up here you could go out to the pond and catch your own catfish and take it in and give it to them, and they fry it up for you.
Yep, so will.
You talk
Yeah.
about a catfish catching youngin' when Daddy take us over there. It was all over it.
I tell you what, when you go to the restaurant and the shrimping boats are pulling up to the restaurant, the docks at the restaurant, I'm pretty sure it's pretty fresh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Spraying it off right there.
Well, shoot, I mean, Philip, Joey, y'all know how it is down here. I mean, you get on that good fresh seafood, whether you want oysters or shrimp or crabs. Yeah, it's way better as soon as it comes out of the water and getting on it than buying it in a package kind of thing. But I mean, that's with anything. Y'all know whether you fish or hunt, whatever the case may be.
No, everybody in the chats.
I don't even see why we have to hunt down here. You can just hit them with your car. There's so many it was found that I could have just loaded my whole pickup truck on the way home.
Mm-hmm.
There's about 30 deer I saw on the way home that were just smashed by cars and trucks.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's a typical thing. It's one of them when you're driving down the road down here and you see them reflective little eyeballs on the side of the highway. Just go on and slow down, because by the time you think she ain't going to come across,
She's fixing to nail you.
yep, here she comes. But yeah, there's been a couple times we've hit one and throw it in the truck, take it to the house. Wasn't busted up bad. Ain't no sense of wasting that meat.
Hey, DC said his family lived in Anchorage, Alaska for 5 years. Fresh.
Oh, well, I imagine.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir. Well, yeah. What are we on now? Oh, we got another good 10 minutes. We can talk about catfish or bees, whatever you want to talk about.
So
Catfish or beans.
So at the market, I had some more competition. There was three beekeepers there selling on Saturday.
Oh,
But my
friendly
daughter was,
competition.
yeah,
Did
it
you
was
hunker
friendly.
down when you shook their hand? I'm still.
Squeeze real hard.
Yeah.
So they can't lift their honey jars.
No, I've seen them on the, I guess, the website for the market. I think they only come in the fall. Is what I've heard. But we had our best day ever there, so didn't hurt us. So of course we had one customer that dropped $350.
I heard that.
Nice.
That was good.
Yeah. What's your number? I'll let you know when we're back. But is that something y'all can do every weekend, Philip, or is it just
We can,
different
but
times?
I only do it every other weekend.
Hmm.
I got to take care of bees a little bit. But,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Shoot,
well,
well,
I would be sold out if I did it every weekend, though.
It's not bad.
I'm about to sell out of spring honey. I'll probably 1 or 2 more markets. I'll be out of spring honey.
Oh, wow.
But I just got all that fall honey. I just did. It sold really good. A lot of people were. I don't know why, but the time of year, I guess it is when the fall. In the summer when it's hot, they like the spring honey. But as it changes, starts to cool down, they start like fall honey's out selling the spring now.
when we was out at the fair a while ago, they wasn't a whole bunch of, which is the last day, so I imagine a lot of people get packed up ready to head home. But seeing some of the vendors as we was getting into the midway and all that, I told Hannah, I said, man, we ever get a good run on some honey, like far as our own pickings, sit on that stuff until fair season and get a daggum boot and sit right here in this auditorium and stick $20 on that stuff. And it would probably sell like hotcakes running through that thing, the way people were just selling odd and end stuff for ridiculous amounts of money. I'm going, man.
Oh, don't get me started on a ridiculous amount. I saw the prices of them 6 shrimp and steak last night.
Yeah.
$42.
Mhm.
For a half a potato, what was it, a 10-ounce ribeye?
Yeah, they said about 10, 12-ounce ribeyes.
And 6 shrimp fried. I was like, man, y'all proud of these? They were good now. It was good. I'm not saying it was bad food, but it
But
wasn't.
they are proud of it.
They are very proud of that.
Mhm.
I'll tell Hannah, I said, can we get the kids meal? You know what I'm saying?
I was gonna order the kids meal, but she had to be 12 or under. I was like, man, can't get past that.
So I took the
Was the
leftovers
steak
back to
good, Bob?
sir.
Was the steak good?
It was good, but I only could eat a little bit of it, so I took it back to the room and it ended up getting thrown in the trash this morning when we got up to leave. So didn't even
Oh man,
get the finish.
I don't mind paying a little bit for a good steak.
I
Mhm.
should have sent it home for Jasper.
I beat it tore it up. He finished my shrimp off for me.
But yeah, I mean the food was really, really good.
The only thing I'd have added to it, which if I'd have known we was gonna eat steak, I'd have brought my own and stuck it in my pocket. But old pepper jelly. Now, if I'd have been able to put just a little of my pepper jelly in there, I'd have been 100%. I was sitting about 90 with everything, but
I know a guy that had a bottle of that last night.
I know Hannah kept telling me, "Shut up! You just gave that to him. Don't you go digging in his pepper jelly."
Gator, go down there and get that jar of pepper jelly you just gave Bob.
Then we could have
No.
gone from table to table and charged him, $1.75 for a 1-ounce cup of pepper jelly.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
At all the other restaurants, have you tried pepper jelly on your steak? Well, for $1.75, you can.
Look, talking about the steaks. Since we're talking about steaks a little bit, I've eaten them from all kind of places, and most everywhere I've been was pretty good. But the best steak I've ever eaten in my life was when I was back in the '80s when I was up in New York. We used to go over to Arthur's Tavern in Hoboken, New Jersey. They had 24-ounce steak there, and that was the biggest, juiciest, tenderest steak I've ever had. Used to go every weekend.
Well, in Biloxi.
One of these,
Go ahead.
one
I'm
of these
sorry.
days I'm gonna go back up there.
Well, I'll tell you what. In Biloxi, you can go into Hard Rock and into that sugar factory. They'll sell you a hamburger that's covered in gold leaf, like gold in the hamburger. It's $150 for a hamburger with gold in it.
That's exactly what I said, Philip.
Yeah.
The best steak I ever had was in Monterey, Mexico. And I don't know if you'd call it a steak, but it was called a buttered cane. And it's on a T-bone, that little small side, that little small round piece on the T-bone, it's real tender.
Mhm.
It was like 6 inches of that. It was the length of that instead of sliced.
Yeah, nice.
And cooked in butter. Oh my gosh, that was unbelievable.
Mm.
Well,
I'll find it in butter next time.
oh yeah, it's much better cooking them things than butter. Well, we have derailed from the beekeeping.
I'm hungry.
Completely.
Hey,
Did you
but
say, Todd, I'm hungry now?
I'm hungry. I haven't eaten yet.
Dog gonna be going to get him a steak rummaged up somewhere.
We went from eating pollen patties to our candy board to steak. That ain't bad.
Yeah,
Now DC's talking about noodling in the chat.
Noodling.
Literally.
y'all still catching catfish, huh?
Yeah.
Never done it, and I'm gonna tell you why.
You don't know if it's a gator hole or a snake hole you sticking your hand down.
Or one of them old alligator snapping turtles that'll take your arm off at the same time. No.
Yeah, I'm good.
I'll throw my hook and line out there and take my chances on that.
So one thing I did today, and I tried the video. I don't know if the video is not very good, but 3 weeks ago I had an open air colony. It was on the bottom of one of my swarm traps. So today I got it in a box, but it was kind of unique the way I did it. The way my swarm tracks are, they stack up. You know, it's like they're like 4-frame nukes, and they just stack up. So what I did was I just took that where that beehive was on the bottom. I had to shave it down a little bit, but I basically just took another bottom and set it down on top of it. So it's inside of another box just from where it was hanging. I don't know if I've described that very good, but and I put it all back together and I hung it right back up where it was, and I'm gonna leave it there till spring, and then I'll come back and cut it out. But now they're inside of a box and basically the same configuration they were in, hanging on the bottom of the box.
Well, they ought to do all right then. I looked at our little open air colony when we got home from church earlier today. I didn't pay them no attention during this cool weather, but I glanced up there and everybody's all huddled up on one side. You can see a big old, I don't know, I think it's about 3 layers that they got up there right now, comb. But I wish I had a lift or some sort, get up there and get them rascals cut off that limb and put in a box. But they may pull through the winter time. I don't know, but I just don't see them making it in a completely open air without any kind of shelter, especially whenever those days it goes to raining and 30-something degrees.
See, if y'all had some of that swarm rustler, it'd be in the box, right, Joey? And then you could forget about them out in the woods.
Yeah. I've been wanting to do my swarm boxes like Philip has his. Cut them in half.
I don't know if I can see that. That's it hanging on the bottom of the swarm box.
Yeah.
Leave it up there just a second. Button's trying to get it. Okay.
Oh, they filled out good too. She got her good little bunch on there.
Yeah, that's got a bunch of comb in it.
I had some about 4 years ago did that.
And then see if I can find where it's.
Well, did yours make it through the winter, Joseph?
I ended up removing them and putting them in a regular hive.
Okay.
They never did go in. They never did go in the trap. I don't know why.
That open air colony we got out there, it was one of them mascons from the Beatles earlier in the season this year, and they made home up there.
So let's see. Oh, dang it. Back up. So I was trying, that this is the little ball you found where you saw was right there. So the top box is what they were hanging on the bottom of. So I just set them down into another box below. So basically I have 2 bottoms put together, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm. Now, hey, it worked.
That's them just clustering around the front of it, because there was a whole lot of them on the bottom of this bracket whenever I got to messing with them. Because I had to shave a little bit of the comb off so it would fit down in there. But we'll see. Hopefully they'll pull through. And I also have a vent hole in the bottom of these, so I was able to put a feeder bucket in the middle over the top of that, so I was able to feed them some sugar water. Hopefully the video will come out. I had problems with it because I didn't have my tripod with me.
Well, it's like it's saying, don't forget about them things. When you talk about a mess come spring. Ooh.
Well, it's going to be a mess. I'm not going to mess with them until the end, so it's just going to be a cutout.
That one I just relocated is going to be a fun one too.
Oh yeah, it is. 70-something pounds.
Look,
oh my gosh, or 50 pounds of.
Yeah. When I finally got that thing off the cleat, I wish I had a camera on there. I was going, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? It took me a minute to glide it down that tree.
Yes, I'm dedicated now.
Yeah, I didn't have a choice.
But you got them snug down for the winter.
Yeah, I put them on a rail, a beehive rail in the bee yard.
I guess we have to check your video out. Like, we've been, like I say, going all weekend and ain't hardly sat down to do much of nothing. But we've enjoyed ourselves, that's for sure. We had a good time.
I didn't notice it when I was taking it off. Most of my what am I trying to say? I always tilt my swarm traps forward a little bit to keep rain from blowing in it. This one was actually cocked backwards, the opposite direction, and I never noticed it when I picked up on that thing and got it off that hook. Man, I was in a bind right by myself.
Saying, please don't drop this. Please.
You knew which way it was going.
Yeah.
Just waiting to watch it happen.
I took most of my swarm traps down though, so they'll be full of wasps and stuff in the spring if I don't take them down and close them up.
But Charlie, you
I
pretty well
usually
buttoned down yourself too, ain't you?
Yeah, it's pretty much done here. I mean, it was 70 degrees here, which was nice, and 85 last weekend. But the bees all been fed and got them strapped down. And I actually looked in a few of them today. They look pretty good. The ones that were questionable or still questioning whether they're going to get through the winter, being population wise and stuff. But the real strong hives, I opened them up. I was going to dig in them a little bit. I'm like, no, they got everything glued together. And I'm like, forget it. I'm just going to close them up and let it go at that. So the next thing I got to do is treat them with some oxalic acid vapor over the next several months. And that's pretty much it for me and all. But
Well, getting that time we can all take, and which I went on and done this early, get a jump on things, but get all the frames cleaned up, get boxes cleaned up and put away, and that way when season comes, we can just jump on it and go.
Right. It's like last week I had some beeswax. A girl wanted to buy a couple pounds of beeswax, so I rendered all my wax. I only had about 10 pounds or so, and I got that in 1 pound bricks and got that done. And all the top high feeders are washed and put away. And you know, like you say, I got everything pretty much done except for doing some winter treatments, and that's pretty much it. And that's really that's why I kind of like about bees. Bees is, for me, it's seasonal. You don't have, it gives you a break, and then come springtime, you're ready to go to get back into them. It's all fresh and new again. So
I'm gonna try to sit down in the next couple of weeks. It was on, where were we talking about that? Maybe it was Ricky, when Ricky was doing his live the other night on the observation hive. And Blaine, the Texican beekeeper, sent me, and I said, Lord, who is that messaging you? It's just big. But old Blaine, God love him, he sent me pictures of every corner, the top, bottom, and all this of an observation hive that he had bought. And I'm gonna try to sit down, I guess, since like we talked about, we ain't had much season anyway, but while it's really slowing down, yeah, I'm gonna sit down and build her one. And now she was talking to her sister. Her sister is a educator here at one of the schools, and she teaches, I guess, like special needs children. And she called us up the other day and said, hey, look, y'all gonna build one and you can put your bees in there and everything. You ain't got to worry about getting out and the kids can look at them. Why don't y'all come and do a little presentation on it? And let the kids, see the bees and how they work and do all that stuff at the hive. But she said, but I'm gonna warn you, if y'all do that, then there's a good chance all the other schools in the county are going to hit y'all up at some point to come out and do it. But after we get that thing built, now I told her, so well, should we go out and show the youngins, tell them what little bit we know? I mean, it'd be plenty basic enough to tell some kids. I think I can get by with that.
Oh yeah.
You'll enjoy it.
Yeah.
That's I was like, boom, that's another selling point to motivate him to build one.
Me and my wife, we do 2 or 3 schools every year.
That's cool.
Actually, we come during their curriculum when they're studying pollination and stuff, and we'll go. And a friend of mine invited
Oh,
me
hey, Brad.
to bring
Hey,
my
Brad.
observation out there. Hey, Brad.
Evening, everyone.
Yes, but she kind of grabbed my little more, or my attention on it even more, because when we was in the fire department, I was head of fire prevention and done a lot of the PR stuff out in the community. And we have an elementary school in our response area, and every year we would go up during fall festivals and things like that, and we'd have the smoke trailer and they can crawl through, and we teach them what to do in a fire and this kind of stuff. And she's like, well, we can kind of go back to that, but we'll just be doing bees this time.
We used to have a blast going up there with all them kids doing that stuff.
But yeah, I'd love to get back and just kind of do that a little bit, but a new adventure doing it in the beekeeping world this time.
Blaine was saying that he had some kids yesterday at the market come by 5 or 6 times just to see his bees.
That's pretty
And
awesome.
an observation.
Well, you never know what that little young'un right there is, just like one of us. They may think of that for the whole rest of their life, and that'll be the next little beekeeper that you got. You know what I'm saying? Your new generation coming up.
Brian said, teach them to waggle dance.
Teach them about it. But yeah, I think we'll enjoy it once we get it done. Well, Brad, how you up there in the north country?
Cold.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in fact, the weather has been quite above seasonal temperatures, but I spent all day moving bees into my building, and it rained most of the time. So I was soaking wet, and it was very cold. It was around freezing point all day, so I was pretty chilled by the time I was done. But the bees are in now, and I don't know. Now I just worry about the building getting too hot.
Forgive my ignorance on things, but for you guys, well, men and women up there doing the beekeeping in your part of the country, is it something that y'all completely have to do, is put the bees in some type of shelter, or will the bees make it through the winter up there if you didn't shelter them?
Oh, that's a really good question. No, moving them into the building is just an alternate way to do it, and it has everything to do with the beekeeper and almost nothing to do with the bees. There are perfectly viable ways to wrap bees up for the winter, winter them outdoors. Some of us simply decide to move our bees into a building instead of wrapping. Wrapping, it's a good solution. The statistical difference in indoor and outdoor wintering is not significant at all. So it's not a panacea to make your bees live, through a winter better than outdoors. It certainly isn't. It removes the bees from some of the extremes. If you get extreme weather, extreme amounts of snow, extreme cold, extreme this or that, the building is a constant temperature all winter. They're protected from wind and ice and anything else that might come by. outdoor has advantages. In the spring, the bees that are wintered outdoors are wrapped, and they can go for an early season cleansing flight perhaps on those warm spring days. Whereas indoors, my bees aren't wrapped, so I need to wait. I need to keep them indoors until such time as the weather is not too cold for them, because they're not wrapped in a winter wrap. So it has really everything to do with how a person decides to manage. Myself being kind of a one-person operation, it's far easier for me because I have my little tractor and I run a two-way pallet system. It's far easier for me to just drive my tractor between the apiary and the building back and forth to bring the bees in, instead of working for hours and hours to wrap up the bees for outdoor wintering.
Yeah.
It's just a good preventative maintenance in a sense for y'all. That way, hey, I basically I've got a controlled environment to a certain extent, and I know they're not out here freezing to death, kind of thing.
Well, outdoors, we give them a sufficient insulative wrap that they're not freezing at all. They do very well outdoors if they're wrapped properly. So, like I say, the mortality is not significantly different between outdoor and indoor if both are done properly. Indoors is difficult in the spring because the temperatures outside start to get warmer. And my building, I don't have refrigeration in my building, and not very many people do. So when the outdoor temperatures get warmer, it becomes difficult to cool that building, keep the bees cool. We all know that bees create heat, but it's quite remarkable how much heat they create. If you were to see a cold Canadian winter, and then realize that I spend most of my time, not me, but my fan spends most of the time trying to cool my building because the bees are in there creating all this heat. It's quite remarkable how much heat they produce. So that's the struggle, is keeping it cool.
Me and her kind of chit chatted about that back and forth at different times. I think we have the luxury, if you will, where basically all we got to do to winterize or anything along those lines is, if you want to, is just reduce the entrance. And that's the biggest extreme for us, And, but with us talking, I say, you got them dudes up there in the North Country and our country and up there in Canada, y'all deal with what we would call, sure enough, extreme winters, the snow, the blistering winds, and, chill factors and all that stuff, nowhere near compared to what we would deal with. But saying, that's just, you got that preventative maintenance, but in a way too, that extra aggravation of, well, I got to get everybody together, make sure everybody's buttoned down good and tight, get them moved in.
Yeah, it's a here I have to make sure everything's prepared by early to mid-October. By that time, I can't do anything different. If I haven't taken care of everything as far as feeding and treating and strength of colonies and all that kind of thing, that's the end of it. I can't do anything else until April or May. And what will happen because I'm done. Now you have struggles that I don't have, though. Now here's my kind of my theory, but it's more than just a theory. The greatest stress on the honeybees is, particularly in the winter, is fluctuating temperatures.
Yes, sir.
So if you have warm temperatures, and if you have very, very sunny days, and then you have fairly cool nights or cold nights, that's stressful on your bees. And that's one of the things that the indoor wintering really solves, is because, uh, ideal situation, I can keep that building at 4 degrees C, which is 40 F, all winter, and it's a constant, 100% constant, as much as I can manage, temperature all winter. So I don't have that stress on my bees, with the temperature going up and down. And also, the research into the longevity of bees, it's directly related to, um, I should say, inversely related to flight. So if the bees fly, they don't live as long. There's an old saying, they say, if they're flying, they're dying. And
Mhm.
so my bees don't fly. My bees won't fly until probably April.
Yeah.
So that's why they can live that long.
So
And if they're flying, which they do in a climate like yours,
yeah.
down south, then you need that continuous brood replacement of those bees, because they're dying all winter. My bees are my bees are dying all winter, but there's a good number of them that are going to make it till spring,
Right.
Lord willing.
Well, a lot of the commercial people, they'll winter in near Miami, and then they'll run their bees up to North Dakota for the season, or out to California, then to North Dakota. But Blake Shook, who's one of the owners of the Bee Supply, he overwinters his bees in an air-conditioned building, and he keeps them at 40 degrees. So his circuit is California, Washington. I think they do apples up there, and then they do. I think they go to Illinois. They end up going to North Dakota, and they end up in Idaho in air conditioned warehouses.
Yeah.
They overwinter. Get this, they overwinter on 12 pounds of honey. That's all it takes them, because they get them at that perfect temperature and they leave them there for like 3 months.
They're coming out of winter in January,
Yeah, to
so
go
they
back
can
to.
prepare for almonds. Yeah.
Right.
It takes us 60 pounds of honey to winter, because it's much longer. And I'll split hairs a little bit, and it's important. I think it's an important detail that those buildings are not air conditioned; they're refrigerated. Air
Refrigerated. Yeah.
conditioning is only good to about 65 F,
Oh, okay.
and you can't air condition lower than that. And it's actually those refrigeration systems in those buildings are just incredible, absolutely incredible. Not only are they powerful, but they're highly redundant, because you can imagine if you had a refrigeration system with 100,000 beehives in this giant building, and the power went out, or the refrigeration system broke down or something, that is an absolute catastrophe, because within 12 to 24 hours, those bees are all going to be dead.
Yeah.
They're just going to cook,
I
right?
think
Because they produce so much heat.
he had pictures of them, and I think they just rolled the trailers in there and unhook them too. I don't know that they load them and unload them. They just roll them in those buildings,
Okay.
unhook them, and then
Yeah.
hook them back up and just keep going. So
Yeah.
it's very efficient.
So I find it really interesting watching the southern beekeepers to see what, I talk to Bob a lot, and I quiz him. I say, what are you doing? What are your struggles in winter? Um, and to see what the struggles are, your struggles are feeding, making sure they're brooding all winter because they're flying all winter. Uh, they have to keep replacing those bees. So it's very different struggles, but it's the same bees and it's the same principles. So it helps me understand my bees better as well.
Yeah. Well, our dangerous month is March. If they don't have weight coming out, starting March, you better feed them in a hurry, because they're going to die.
Well, this is the first year that I've kind of followed you guys' lead up in Canada to really try to pack weight on them. And so they have a abundance in their box. So when times are lean, I can try to push them on a little bit. I never really threw the feed on them like I did this year. I just put out some open feed for them in the past, and I would lose, like you're saying, Philip, I'd lose a lot near the end. So hopefully that's not going to be the case this year, but
I've lost one, but it was all my fault. I mean, I just didn't get to them in time. So, but you can tell that they start dropping pretty fast. You got to get food on them, and if they're light in March, because when they start brooding up, they're gonna eat themselves to death. But,
Yeah. Then if you turn into a
my
season
building
like we
was
had,
I had the sorry I just finished that I had my overhead door open for about 5 hours. It was about 0°C, so 32 F, outside, and it was a bit breezy too. Not a pleasant day. And so about 5 hours I had that overhead door open loading that building. So you can imagine the temperature in that building when I was done. You'd think, well, it's going to be it's going to be 0 in there. That door open the whole time. When I was done, it was 6 degrees in that building. And I still had the door open because there was 175 colonies of bees in there, and they were just roasting.
You should heat your house with those bees.
that's what I'm thinking.
It would be
Yes,
nice.
sir.
Yeah,
In there.
yeah. If a guy could set up a heat pump system for
Right.
that, boy, you could heat a lot. They're between 10 and 20 watts per colony. So for every 100 colonies, then you've got 1,000 to 2,000 watts of heat, and that's more than enough to heat that building. It's not a problem. I'm sorry, Tim, I cut you off there.
No, sir. I mean, you good. That answered a lot of my questions I had going on in my head on, what is, I guess, the main, the full purpose of doing all that. Is it something you have to do, or is it just something y'all do to, preventative maintenance, if you will?
It's
But
it's fairly popular. I would say most hobbyists don't winter indoors. They probably either don't have a facility that they can use or a facility they want to use because it ties up a building or part of a building for the winter. And again, wintering outdoors is not difficult and it's not unreliable. Um, Wintering bees indoors has almost everything to do with the beekeeper and almost nothing to do with the bees. I know Ian talks about how he used to winter outdoors years ago and he had all these wraps and the mice would get in the wraps and there would just be a mess and then you have to store all this wintering wrap material all summer and the mice get in it on the summer and it's just a kind of a nightmare. I don't have any wraps to store. Part of the process I went through, or the thought process I went through when deciding if I should do this, was cost. Wraps will run me $25, $30 per colony, and they don't last a long time. So for every 100 colonies, I'm looking at $2,500 to $3,000 for wraps. I happen to have a building I could use, and it cost me under $1,000 to outfit that building with appropriate ventilation and heating system to take care of my bees. That building's going to last a lot longer than a bee wrap will ever last. I have to replace those bee wraps. So if I'm running 200 colonies, I could have $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 worth of wraps that I have to replace every, maybe 5 years or so. So there's an economic part of the decision as well. And where are you going to store all those wraps in the summer? I don't want to store things. Storage is a premium. So it's just a lot of different things to consider, and like I say, it really has nothing to do with the bees because there's viable solutions either way. They can stay outside.
yeah. Well, Charlie, you being the second northern, far as being in the North Country up there, is that some of your concerns in the winter seasons?
No, I mean, through the wintertime, we can have 50-degree days occasionally,
Okay.
in December or February, where the bees will fly a little bit and they'll have a cleansing flight and that kind of a thing. Now, the way my bees are set up behind me there, I got that big 80-foot hay barn. I put my nukes there because of the barn, that I know that the wind blows against the barn and it protects the nukes from the wind. And then all the way down at the end there where my 10 frame production hives are, which is out past the barn, I get some old used carpet. And when it gets really cold, in the 40s or 30s and whatever, and it gets it's windy around where I'm at. I'll put carpet on 3 sides of those hives on the back side of them, and it gives them a wind block. And other than that, that's pretty much it. We don't really last year we didn't get any snow. Usually if we get snow, it might be 4 or 5 inches at the most. And that's a lot. I mean, I think it was in 2016. That's when we got like it used to be 2 or 3 feet of snow and all. But other than that, the bees hibernate, as I call it. They all stay inside and they're fine. They survive very well.
Yeah.
The main thing is come mid-February, you want to start looking in the hives and make sure there's enough feed in there. I do feed mine to the point where they quit taking it down, so I know they're full. Now, some of the nukes, they might go blowing through their stores, and then I'll have to supplement them with some sugar bricks come late February, let's say early March, until about April.
When I was down in Mississippi, they still had privet blooming down there. I'm like, they're getting feed down, natural feed down there.
Well, yeah, down here in the South, we get 50-degree days all winter too, but it doesn't get that cold that often.
Right. I mean, well, some people say concern because it'll get down to, let's say, 25 degrees F. And it's like, yeah, okay, it's, it is that cold, but it doesn't last that long, very long. Some people get concerned about it. Some people wrap their hives with styrofoam or black tar paper. I mean, everybody kind of does a little bit of something different. There's a club that I belong to up in Pennsylvania, which is about an hour and a half north of me. And, I was on their bee chat Friday night before mine, and they kind of got they're like 2-year-old beekeepers, and some are even older than that, but they're like, oh, we don't want to spend the money to buy the sugar in order to feed the bees. Or they're gonna feed them fondant through the wintertime. For me, I want to feed them and I want to be done with them for the wintertime. I don't need to go into them except for maybe mite treatments, where they're wanting to put sugar bricks on throughout the winter, or they want to put fondant patties throughout the winter. And I'm like, I don't want to have to do all that stuff. And I just look at them like they're nuts. I said, well, get the sugar, make the sugar water, and feed the darn bees. And they were like, well, I had 40 pounds of honey on, and
don't do no good if they eat 60.
yeah, well, I had 40 pounds of honey in August, and now they're light. Well, guess what? If they're making brood, like Brad says there, come springtime, they're running out of food. Why are they running out of food? Because they're gearing up to make brood for the springtime buildup. Well, in the fall, they're doing the same thing. They're gearing up to make winter brood or winter bees, and they're eating food just to supply all that situation. And it's like, know your bees and your biology a little bit better. But that's kind of a thing. But that's what's happening up here. I don't wrap mine except for the ones out on the wind. And that's just a wind block. It's not for insulation.
Can I share something, Tim?
Go ahead. Yes, sir.
I'll share a graph. And this graph appears on Randy Oliver's site. This isn't what I was looking for, but this tells a story as well. So this is feed consumption by temperature. And at the bottom here, it goes from 20C to 0 to 20C. So this isn't linear. because here we have 20 degrees at the bottom, but we look at 20 degrees from here to here, you see? So what I'm trying to kind of get at here is this increase between 5 and 20 is steeper. This looks like it's the same
Right.
grade between here, and then up to here, but it's not, because this on this graph, this is a longer stretch. So what I'm trying to get at is the feed consumption below 41F. As temperature goes down, the feed consumption rises, but not as fast as the feed consumption rises above 41F. Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah.
There's another graph that I prefer, and it shows much more of a hockey stick kind of a thing, that the consumption goes up much steeper above 41F.
So when it's below, they're consuming more to warm the colony, right?
Right. And then above 41, they're just more active. So that what that means to me is I would rather my bees be below 41 than far above. So I'm far more concerned about cooling my building. I want to keep it 4C or less. I don't want to go far above that. Our next couple of weeks here, the forecasts are saying that it's going to be, I'm going to say fairly warm, and it's maybe not fairly warm for us, but it's fairly warm in context of trying to keep my building cool. So that concerns me a little bit.
Well, I appreciate you explaining it to me a little bit. I got, like I say, much better understanding. I see your point of it now, trying to keep their tails cool. That way, you know, they ain't trying to meander around and things of that nature. It keeps them pretty well bundled up until, you know, y'all know what time of season to go ahead and start sticking them out up there. But that one way, whenever it is time, you got good flighty bees, and you can start carrying on, you know, to the next job of preparing for season to, you know, start taking off.
I always say that every fall, wintering indoors seems like a really great idea, and every spring it seems like a really bad idea, because it's such a stressful situation to try to get the crystal ball out and know when should I bring my bees out. I want to get them out because it's a long winter, and it's you know, it's stressful on them, but I don't want to get them out and expose them to temperatures that are, you know, remarkably cold. So those overnight temperatures can still get pretty cold in the spring here. I think it was about the second week in April last spring when my bees came out, and I think that's the latest in 9 years that I've taken them out.
Oh wow, April, Lord! And I'm thinking whenever you was fixing to start off with that coming in, you know, in the spring, I'm thinking, well, you know, end of February or March, but no, so
Yeah.
you well into April, you say.
That's the peak of our swarm. That middle of April is the peak of our swarm season.
Yes, sir. It's starting
It's
to get.
not it's not warm enough here to pull brood frames before May, and even then, I have to wait until second to third, you know, the first or second week of May before I can safely pull brood frames, because it's too cold. I'll just chill the brood right away if I pull them out.
Now I have found, just me and probably Joey and Philip, Bob can probably relate to a lot of this, but our biggest fear during, I guess, if you want to say winter time, is the moisture inside the colony, because we stay so blasted humid, even in the winter seasons. It's still pretty doggone humid, you know, easily be 50% humidity, no problem, and it can go up throughout the day. But having that, say if you break a lid, just to, I'm going to just do a quick visual check. You slap that lid back down. Well, if it's 49, 50 degrees and they done got that heat built up in there real good, and you start mixing that hot and cold air, as soon as you lay that lid back on, for us, we have that higher potential of condensation getting into the colony from what I've seen. And I have just figured out, stay out of them until, we get into our spring. Then, hey, get after it and do your thing. But that is one thing that makes us nervous if we have to get into one on those type days of, there's a chance that we're going to have that blasted condensation built up. And like Joey or Philip, when y'all talking, you got the back of your colonies jacked up 3/4 of an inch. And we've done the same. That way, if it does get like that, at least, the moisture has got somewhere to go downhill and get away from it.
I was picking up some of my beehives today with my tractor. I'd get the forks in under, I'd pick up the beehive like this, and the water would just come flooding out of the bottom board. Just because of the snow, and the snow has been melting, and it all melts down in there and it collects. So, but I was going to say that you're talking 50% humidity. My building runs around 50% humidity all winter at 40 F. It'll run plus or minus 10. It'll likely be a little more humid at the beginning now because I've introduced a lot of snow into the building as I took the bees in, and it'll likely dry a little bit. But our winter air does not hold much moisture at all. It's so cold that it doesn't hold much moisture. So when we draw that in to a quote warm building, the relative humidity is desperately low. The humidity in the house can be 20% in the winter. It's very, very dry.
Well, I've never seen 20% humidity. I think the lowest I've probably seen humidity around here looking at anything, and it's definitely this time of the year and getting into winter, will be around 50%, I'm going to say. And that'll be
like low.
Yeah,
wow.
Low.
For us.
I would melt.
No, I mean, or in the summertime, it's nothing for it to be 98, 99, 100% humidity.
Yes, sir.
When it's 101, 102 actual degrees outside. Like it's nasty humid here all the time.
Wow. Yeah, a lot of dry skin and whatnot in the in the winter here.
Yeah, not down here.
Now listen. We'll say whenever one of them good fronts come in, and you'll get them 2 or 3 days of that heavy, brisk wind, just continuous. That's when it'll get you. But yeah, give it 3 or 4 days after that, and it'll be right back up 70.
I find that interesting. Your comment about opening that hive in the summer. You said about 50 F and 50% humidity, and you open the hive, and because of that action, you can introduce humidity in there that will cause condensation in the hive. Is that kind of what you were saying?
Yeah, yes, sir. I guess it's just we got so much of this Gulf air and everything coming in on us all the time.
Yeah.
And we can be, I can say it'd be 48 degrees right now if we had our heater on. And I could show you our windows on the house, for example. Between the panes of the windows, you'll see that condensation. Yes, sir. Building up in there. We don't ever have a dry air. I reckon is the best way to say it. But yes, sir. That's the only thing I put together is just there's so much moisture down here than the cold air if you take the chance of busting it open, then you start having that air mix, hot and cold, and you begin the build up of the condensation there for a minute. Well, I say a minute,
Well, you
but over
certainly
time.
disrupt their equilibrium. The bees,
Mhm.
obviously, I think every beekeeper knows that the bees left to themselves, they will set their hive environment up to a maintainable system. And to me, that's one of the reasons that wildly fluctuating day and night temperatures are so hard on the bees, because they have to react to that, and they don't react very quickly. In my observances, they take quite some time to react to those temperatures. So that opening of that lid obviously then disrupts that equilibrium that they've already established, and then they have to compensate for that and
Yes, sir.
reestablish that afterwards.
Yes,
Yeah,
because
that's interesting.
say whenever we get one of y'all's fronts, that Arctic cold air coming down in here, it could be, we'll say 70 degrees at 2 o'clock that day. Well, when that front comes pushing through, and it's going to be, a cold front, as we call it, that temperature will drop from 70 degrees down to, it'll go into the 30s within just a few hours, and just drop real quick like that. Then it'll hold steady for a couple of days, 40s, and night times it'll get freezing that area. Then 2 or 3 days later, you jump right back up to the high temperatures again.
70s and 80s.
It's a constant.
Yeah.
It's just constant all through, even into spring.
Yeah.
From here on into spring, we'll have that fluctuation all season.
It gets
And
cold and
if
it
I
warms up.
could, I hear people in southern climates talk about cold temperatures a lot, and it distresses them. And my one comment about that is the cold temperatures don't bother the bees at all. The cold temperatures, you can go quite a bit below the freezing point before the bees are stressed at all. It's fluctuating temperatures. So if you're maintaining a constant temperature around that beehive, no matter what that temperature is, that's optimal for their ability to maintain their space. Now, we've looked at feed consumption, so there's definitely an optimal temperature there. But people in warmer climates, when you get those Arctic flows, the actual temperature shouldn't be what's stressing you. It should be the fluctuation in that temperature. So something that moderates that fluctuation. Charlie's got. Let's see, where should I point here? Charlie's got the Lyson poly hive there behind him. I put my polystyrene hives away today, and I just curse them. I just say I hate those poly hives, and the reason I hate them is because they play with my head. I don't like managing them. They don't manage like everything else, and you can see some of them sitting right here in my picture. But you know what? The bees do great in those hives. The bees love those polystyrene insulated hives. And why? Not because they're protected from the cold, and not because they're protected from the heat per se. It's because they can set up that environment in that hive, and the ambient temperature, the solar gain in the summer, and the cold or whatever comes by doesn't translate inside the hive as easily as it does those wooden hives. And that's why I just those polystyrene hives play with my head, because I think everything should be in polystyrene hives. And then the other little devil on the shoulder says, no, you don't want to manage those. You want to manage wooden hives. And then the other one says, no, you got to put them in poly hives because they like it. So that's a struggle.
Yeah.
Well, Ty, how about you there on the other side of the country? It is your humidity levels low? You don't have to worry about those kind of things as much, or y'all dealing with the same?
No, heck, I think high humidity here in the Central Valley is probably well, it could get to like 30%, but usually
Okay,
the
sure.
average is probably
That's
15. Yeah, it's dry. It's like a desert.
Oh,
Yeah, you know what? As a matter of fact, I'm doing an experiment this year. I took all the foamies off my hives, and the reason why I did that is because in the years past, in the winters or in the spring, early spring, when I open them up, that thing is covered with water. So when I'm taking that thing, when I'm ripping that thing off, it's just raining down condensation on them. So I'm also seeing condensation on both sides, both side walls. So I know that it's contributing to that. So I'm going to see what happens. Just taking them off and see.
This is the first year I've used them, so it'd be interesting to see that.
Yeah, and the best way to find it or see it is when you take those outside frames out, they'll be all molded up. They'll be green and white. Then you know you have a water leak.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's low humidity here. Not what you guys handle over there.
And, yeah, I mean, she about flipped this chair with Jasper and everything backwards, and you're talking 30% humidity being a high.
it gets up to 30%. I'm going, my gosh.
And when you guys
Y'all
are talking
just
about it,
suck.
right now it's 57%. And I think it's 62 degrees outside right now. And 57%. But yeah, we don't get what you guys get.
Count you blessed.
They said all of us Southerners in here just bum clothes with every one of us going 30%.
Yeah.
I lived in Southwest Missouri for about 5 years, and I got humidity up there, but not what you guys get.
Well,
I don't
then,
know, that's for sure.
go ahead. Go ahead, Bob.
No, I was about to say, I was getting ready to check out. And it sounds
Yeah,
like
me
you're
too.
ready to check out.
Yeah.
I'm fixing to end it and everything, y'all. Thank you everybody to come in and chatted with us this evening.
Awesome having people talk to tonight.
Yes. Charlie, Joseph, Philip, Todd, Bob. Glad to see y'all got home safe and everything. Send Amy our love. We enjoyed everything once again.
I think she went ahead and went to bed already.
Yeah, y'all pushing 11 o'clock up there.
Y'all drove that hallway and then
Yeah, it
she went
is.
in and cooked.
Oh, I drove.
Well, you drove.
She
She
named
rode. That's a hard job, Bob.
Bob saying, I want that red beans and rice when we get to the house, darling.
Yep, she did too. She cooked it. Zatarans, red beans, and rice with that. I can't even say it. Kaneka, is that how you said it?
Kaneka.
Kaneka
Sausage.
Oh.
Yes.
It was good.
But all right, gentlemen, once again, thank y'all and everybody in the chat that come in. God bless you. Lord willing, we'll see y'all on the next one. Y'all take care.
Good night,
See y'all
everybody.
later.
All right, take care, Charlie.